Yeah, it's Mark from Cube Consultancy alongside Richard for our podcast, and we've got Linda from Tyson Eco Dog Food in today.
And they are like about £400. What's £400? And I've got to pay the rent. My son said, well, let's give it a go. We've got nothing else.
We're all in.
Yeah.
Proper gamble.
Yeah. So one friend told another friend. My partner said, you're nuts.
And then you just went for it. The startup has become a rapidly growing business.
How have we helped?
They've just taken the worry off me completely.
We thought we could definitely help here.
Yeah.
When you hear about VAT and corporation tax.
VAT gets into the arena, just making sure that the pricing stays ahead of your cost pricing. I think for me it was the most inspiring story, and I think it's the sheer guts. Now it's paying off. One question that you have in your mind begets another question, begets another question. Having a few £100 left in your pocket, what made you start?
So, welcome, Linda. How are you?
All right, thank you.
I think it's cat and dog food, isn't it?
Yeah.
In the
It's the
formal
longest
title.
name ever. Tysons Eco Raw Cat and Dog Food Limited.
What made you have such a mouthful of a name, or did it seem like a good idea at the time?
When I first thought about this, I spoke to a young girl, and she said, we're going this together. So I said, okay. I said, we call it Tysons. No, we won't call it Tysons. We call it something eco, because she's all into eco-friendly stuff. So I said, okay, then we'll do that. So I started to get the freezers and all the bits and pieces at home, and I kept phoning her. She wasn't answering the phone, telling her, oh, I've got this, and she'd say, oh, cool. And then I was getting more freezers and thinking, she's doing nothing. So I phoned her and I said, do you know what, we go our separate ways.
Right.
Although we hadn't really started, but set it up at Company's House at Eco something, which I dissolved.
Right.
And started the Tysons bit. Tysons, and I kept the Eco, and I don't know why.
And this is all at home, right?
Yeah.
You set up the fridges and freezers at home.
In the garage.
Yeah, because the
At
reason
4.
we were keen to get you talking to the people that follow the Cube podcast is because we first met you in 2021, and you told us how you'd ummed and ahed about starting this business because you'd had a background before starting the dog food company looking after dogs, hadn't you?
Yeah, walking.
What were you doing back when we all got locked down for the first time?
I lost all my work because of COVID. I couldn't walk the dogs. People were walking them themselves. Couldn't look after them. No one was going on holiday.
Yeah.
So I thought we'd start a raw dog food company.
But what made you think about raw dog food? Is that because you've been
I thought it was
feeding
better
your
for
own
the
dogs?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know that having 5 dogs myself, the moment we switched, their vet bills, touch wood, disappeared.
Yeah.
So
it's better
there must
for
be something in it, isn't there? But
Much better for
how did you go about, from having the idea, having a few £100 left in your pocket, what made you start? What made you take the big step?
I thought I'd make it myself.
Well, actually blend the
Make it
food.
myself.
Right.
I've got a little tiny kitchen, and my partner said, you're nuts, there's no way you can make it yourself. And then my daughter-in-law said, well, why don't you buy it, go wholesale? And I said, yeah, but I want it my name. So we found a wholesaler that would put our name on it, Tysons Raw, and we went down there and I had about £400. What's £400? And I thought, I've got to pay the rent or get this meat. And me and my son said, well, let's give it a go, we've got nothing else. So we went down to Yorkshire. They'd made it all up for us, and it was, I think it was probably cost me 350 quid.
And that would have been what, a carload, or that was everything?
That was everything.
You were all in?
Yeah.
Proper gamble.
Yeah. Put it in the freezers. Peter set up Instagram, started speaking to some of his friends, and they said, oh, yeah, we'll buy it off you. So one friend told another friend.
Yeah, well, the Instagram page is good, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
he's always got material on there.
Yeah, we put everything. Well, Peter, my son, does all that.
Yeah,
So we just started. Peter started delivering it. I started delivering it. People was asking for it.
And that first £350, that was that the blocks of the
sausage,
mince?
like little sausage rings. Then it had like Tysons.
Oh, the tubes.
Little tubes, yeah.
And that was how it all started.
Yeah.
Now, how many different products have you got?
About 7, 8 different brands.
Yeah. And then you added in the accessories,
Toys.
the toys, the chains, the
Once we
leads.
left the garage, we got a unit then we started to get the dog toys and the dog beds.
When you were,
How long was that though? How long were you training from home, and when did you get the?
About 9 months.
Right, okay, fine.
Yeah.
So that was all through lockdown.
Yeah, but I didn't even want to leave the garage. I was
No.
worried. I was frightened. It was only my aunt and uncle complained to planning that we were running a business. Although I did ask planning and they said it was fine. But when there was a complaint made, the lady come to the garage, said, "Oh, it's clearly a business." I said that, should I know? She said, "But the way it's built
Right.
like a village. You're not allowed to run a business from it, so you've got to leave within 4 weeks."
Right.
So
and at that point, how many freezers did you have in your garage?
12.
12.
Yeah.
Big garage.
Yeah, no, we were just squeezing ourselves round.
And then you found the place that we've been to, both me and
Yeah,
Richard.
it was the woman from the planning. She'd put it on the bottom of her email that they do have units in
Oh, nice.
Hoddesdon.
Fine.
I think she liked us. She said, "I don't want you to fail."
Oh, it's worked out.
And what,
Yeah,
was,
yeah.
what was that lady's name? Give her a shout. Do you remember
I
her
can't
name?
remember her name.
She was actually
Jill.
from the council.
Yeah, Jill, and from Broxbourne Council.
Jill from
I don't remember
Broxbourne
her.
Council. Look what
Yeah.
you've done. Look
Yeah.
what you've done, Jill. Now you're turning over on a good week.
We at least.
It's more than 350 quid, isn't it?
I think so.
Just about.
Yeah.
Just in case the VAT man's watching. Eh?
Yeah, quite a lot more than that.
That's good. That's good. How many freezers have you got where you are now?
Right, we've got a great big walk-in
Oh, that's right.
cold room.
Yeah, so it's even changed
And
since I
we've
was
got-
last down there.
9 more big ones, you know.
Nice.
Yeah.
And do a lot of people come to
Yeah, they
the
do.
store, or
Yeah.
is it still delivery
We
service?
do deliveries a lot
Yeah.
of deliveries, but more people coming each week.
Nice.
Yeah,
So,
It's good.
yeah, it's good. I like it.
is that a good, Mick, would you say it's 50-50 now? People walking through? Because when you come in the door, you can't not leave with something. Because
Oh, no.
you see things for
It's
the
like
first
that,
time
yeah.
in there.
Yeah,
I
I
remember
like-
those
yeah.
rabbit ears. Those
Yeah.
rabbit ears were brilliant.
Yeah, I like it when people come rather than order because they used to get more. Because if I go to Tesco's for one thing, I don't ever come back with one thing.
You go in for a pint of milk and you
Yeah.
come out 120
Yeah,
quid
yeah.
down, don't you?
Yeah,
So what concerns did you have, in terms of tax and VAT and things like that
We
when
never
you
had a
first
clue.
started? Is that what it was? You just didn't
yeah, we
really
just did not have a clue.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
How did you guys come across?
Introduced by a friend of mine, actually, a guy called Obi. Introduced, he knows Pete.
that's right. I was
That's
going to
right.
say that. Yeah, because you turned up. I wasn't
We
expecting
rocked up
you.
at the shop and she didn't know who we were.
Yeah.
So we had to wait for Pete to turn up to just vouch for us.
We weren't allowed in until Pete had given us the nod. So
And then we came across this business. Obviously, I've got a dog. Richard's got loads of dogs. So we were quite passionate. When you're passionate about, an industry like that, we thought we could definitely help here. And obviously, Linda had started it. You had QuickBooks, I think, at the time.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I don't think it was
Yeah.
being used properly, or it
Yeah.
wasn't set up
your
right.
niece or
Yeah.
somebody had
Yeah.
done it,
Yeah.
hadn't
Yeah,
they?
yeah. She set up for us.
But now we've Linda works with Sarah, who is like the day to day. She deals with you day to day, doesn't
Yeah,
she?
yeah.
And you get on quite well.
Yeah, I like her. She's
And
lovely.
then Catherine, who you probably
Yeah,
just
yeah, I
bumped
met her
into.
last time. Yeah.
It's the perfect kind of client. We talked about Q clients, because you know that you can really add value. You can kind of help someone get on top of it and explain that it isn't that, because I know what it's like. It's quite daunting,
Yeah.
when you hear about VAT and corporation tax and PAYE,
Yeah.
and taking on staff. It's a little bit daunting, but try and simplify it.
Well, you said, didn't
Yeah.
you? You
Yeah.
say you worry about everything. For about first year, it was like always something to worry about. And then just the VAT, because once you get through that threshold of selling more than a certain amount, all of a
Yeah.
sudden VAT gets into the arena. But Tyson had a very unusual mix in as much that, one of their items they sell, the raw dog food, is 0 rated. So it's VAT isn't chargeable on it. Whereas some of the other things you buy,
Yeah, the yeah.
like the leads and the dog beds, were.
Yeah.
So you had this sort of strange situation where a lot of your sales were 0 rated, but then a lot of what you're buying was
Yeah.
standard rated. So in the early days, the VAT wasn't as much of a hindrance, was it, as you
no.
thought? It just took a lot of getting the basics up to scratch. What would you say your biggest worry is at the moment? What remains to be addressed, do you think?
Probably in case it all stops.
Because you've had your first year's accounts and they were
Yeah.
positive, weren't
Yeah.
they?
I was going to say, so the growth has happened pretty quick.
Yeah,
So,
really quick. Yeah.
So what was that like? That must have been pretty intense.
Yeah, do you know what? We didn't even really notice because every time we got money, we just put it straight back into the business. Like, oh, my son is like, all right, we get more toys, more beds, more this. He looks for what people like sheep's fat from Finer by Nature. That goes out the door so fast, you know. And
how have these guys helped in the sense of, you know, with that dramatic increase? You know, how they helped in that sense? You know?
who?
How
Sorry.
have we helped?
Yeah,
They've just taken the worry off me completely because I don't actually worry. We send, like, Sarah has everything and she sorts everything out for us.
Yeah, and Richard, you were saying that you do a lot of like cash flow forecasts. Was this something that you was, you know, when it first came to you that you expected, or how did that happen?
When Tyson?
Yeah.
Well, when we first met, when me and Mark turned up unannounced with Linda, you know, we didn't really know what to think.
No.
We walked through and there were these freezers, there was all these stock items. I think we both left with about 50 quid's worth of gear ourselves. And then my dogs just absolutely lapped it up. So then you started to think there's something going on here. Because I was used to get mine from a company up in Norfolk. So now we've all switched. But it wasn't really anything that you needed to forecast because the business was operating on decent margins. I think we've mentioned, haven't we, just making sure that the pricing stays ahead of your cost pricing.
How did you get the pricing originally? How did you come up with what to sell it for? Obviously cost plus a margin, but how did you work that out? Was it looking at competitors or?
Yeah, we was looking again at Raw to Door.
Oh right, they were the main. Yeah, fine,
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
And you run a business before at school? So I was saying, because these guys were saying, you know, because they know the business game and they know how it all works. I'm sure you guys must have had some kind of advice that way to help her. You know?
Yeah, we massively try to get involved to advise her. It's a business that you went to, and if we asked Linda when we went into the store that day, how much profit have you made, or what was your turnover? She just wouldn't. You wouldn't have known.
No.
You know. Did you know that you was doing well?
Yeah,
You
I
did?
knew because we was earning the money to buy more stock, so we
Right.
must have been doing well.
Yeah, I mean, then Richard got involved in looking and trying to make QuickBooks work. So it was click of a button.
Yeah, the one I used to buy from up in Norfolk, I mean, they literally started on a farm, mincing their products, word of mouth, got the branding right. Do you want to just touch on what Pete and you've done on the branding? Because that's quite important, isn't it?
What?
In terms of the, you know, you've got the collars, you've got the
Oh,
logo.
yeah. We've got our own collars and leads now with our dog, the Kong.
Yeah.
His picture on it,
Oh,
and our name, Tysons Raw. We wanted to have Kong, but we're not allowed to use Kong because of the Kong toys and that
If
brand.
ever you visit Lynn
Yeah.
and the Hoddesdon estate, you'll meet Kong. He's a challenging lad, isn't he?
Yeah,
He's a strong boy.
yeah. He's now at the back of the shop. He's much better behaved.
Why is he there most of the time?
Yeah. When we're there, he's there. Yeah.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
And do you want to give the people on the view what your address is? It's unit number.
Unit 18, Hoddesdon Industrial Centre, Pindar Road, EN11 ODD.
Yeah, and if you pop in, you'll see some of the
Yeah,
stuff.
everyone will be welcome. Everyone likes coming back. Someone does like a 60-mile round trip. He said just to see us. He has fun.
Well,
It's a fun shop.
It is. It really is.
It is.
The thing is, you can't take a big enough car to go and visit Linda because you will come away with make sure you've got a big freezer at home.
Yeah,
is
yeah.
what I'd say.
Yeah, people say that. People actually get big freezers. They say, I'm going to get a big freezer. They do.
Yeah, well, that's
Yeah.
right. Because it is a little bit, you know, it's good
Yeah.
value for starters, isn't
Yeah.
it? You get a lot of choice,
Yeah.
and if you love your animals as we do, you know, giving your pets choice, you know, it's good for them.
That's right.
Keeps their interest up, doesn't it? Never
Yeah.
bored.
Nope. Yeah, people come in and go, so my friend uses you, or someone told me about you. My son was actually out in Islington with his dog,
Yeah.
and someone said, "What do you feed her?" He said, "Oh, Roy," he said, "You should go to Tysons." It was my son.
Recommended it.
Yeah, he said, "That's
That's
my mum."
me. That's
yeah,
me.
Yeah, that was in Islington.
It's amazing.
You know?
The VAT on the dog food, I wasn't aware of that one. I don't know
Well,
if you knew that.
what we've had is, you know, one question that you have in your mind begets another question, and because we have quite a wide range of clients now, what we found working with Linda on raw food, we've extended into some of our clients who are greyhound trainers, some of our vet clients, and you can make the connection. So by having that wide range of clients, you can transport ideas across. What we did find is there is not always an actual policy or rule for that specific business, and HMRC themselves develop it over time. So if you can always be conversational with HMRC, you can start to steer them and get effectively their approval. But it's quite exciting to think that expanding into the next unit.
Yeah.
One of the things you said was difficult was getting delivery staff so you could take some of the burden off Pete.
Yeah.
Have you
Drivers.
managed to get very far with that?
No, not really. We got Alfie, one boy, and Peter. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's when you'll set up a payroll scheme. So we'll have to set that up, put them on the payroll, start paying some additional tax and things like that. But
It's all been sent, hasn't it?
yeah, I think that's all done, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's set up. It's set up
Yeah.
now. So
Yeah.
you effectively, if anyone's wondering, it sounds a bit of a big deal, but you just send off and you say, I want to have a payroll scheme.
Yeah.
And HMRC write back and say, thank you very much for being an unpaid tax collector. Here is your accounts number. Here is your reference number. And if you're using software like Linda is, QuickBooks or Xero, you just click a few buttons, set it up, and then you start filing who you've paid, what you've paid, and they'll be quick to tell you how much tax you owe. Now, obviously,
Each month, that needs to be done each month, even if that payroll then goes to zero. You'll still have to file something each month.
some businesses like to pay their people weekly. You can, in theory, have a weekly payroll, but provided most people are, I think 80% of people now are paid monthly. So having a monthly payroll, it means you have to make those 12 filings, and obviously everybody gets a tax allowance, so everybody can earn their 12,500 tax free.
Yeah.
And so depending on their hours, depends how much tax you pay. But as an owner of the business, that's another weight off your mind, hopefully.
Are you going to need more staff when you expand?
Yeah.
How many more do you think is needed for the other
About
shop?
2 upstairs.
Another 2.
Yeah, because there'll be another shop upstairs as well.
Well, Linda basically rents from the council, don't you? You rent from the council, so the council will pay her a visit from time to time, and they'll make sure you're on top of things. Because what you forget is they're in partnership. They want you to succeed, as you
That's
said.
right.
Jill wanted you to succeed.
Yeah, she did.
And now you're in a situation whereby the startup has become a rapidly growing business, which itself is, as Linda's touched on, brings problems with staffing. Reliable staff is probably the worst thing, isn't it? Because no one's going to do the job Pete does.
No.
Because Pete has literally worked all hours God send to get the business. You've been the shop, he's been the wheels.
Yeah.
And you've got it.
It was an
Six
idea,
figures.
and he's really run with it, my son. Really.
How far did he deliver? Like, how far would he go?
In the early days, you went all over, didn't he?
He went to Stonehenge, I think, for 50 quid. He went.
Did he?
Yeah. He said, no, we'll get more there at Stonehenge. Yeah. So we've made our mistakes, loads of them.
And where's your area now, your catchment?
All South London. We do all South London. We do North London. We do all over still.
Oh, right.
All over London. We've not really... Where don't we go? I think for, say, if they wanted to go to Gatwick, we'd say, like, it's a minimum order.
Yeah.
Of,
Most of your clients are in London, the ones you deliver to?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
So your catchment is really inside the M25.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if you want to order big enough, if you want a few hundred quid, you'll come.
Yeah, come.
But not
Yeah.
for 50 quid
No,
anymore.
no.
Is this the first?
It's not the first
No.
client we've experienced rapid growth, but I think for me it was the most inspiring story because you didn't you, for several months you ummed and ahed and you thought, what am I going to do? And then you just went for it.
Yeah.
And I think it's the sheer guts and the balls to do that, if you excuse my language, but now it's paying off.
Yeah.
And you've created something that your son is involved with, that your family can get involved with as you grow. And as we touched on with Tim, in the wealth management early, you know, you start up, you grow, you really become known.
That's
and
right.
then there'll come a time when people
Yeah.
might be knocking on your door and
Yeah.
making you big offers.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about that? How, when you might plan to slow down? Or do you just love it too much at the moment?
Yeah, I plan to slow down because then Peter and he take over.
But
Yeah.
he still needs
Yeah, he still
that reliable staff. There's
Yeah,
no one
yeah.
as reliable as Mum, is there?
No. You see.
Yeah. I think the one thing we've been trying to really focus on is being on top of your bookkeeping.
Yeah.
And getting, you know, your accounting sorted in the early days, you know, so that you know how much stock you've got. You know, if every time a customer buys from you, you've sent them either an electronic invoice or something out of the shop, then you can always, you know, play catch up at the end of the week, at the end of the month. But the numbers are powerful, you know, and without wanting to, you know, jeopardise the success, I can see this going all the way, this business, because it is something that there's a huge demand for. It's a great product, isn't it, at the right price.
Yeah.
And the service is second to none. So it maybe come along in 12 months when you've hit that £1 million mark.
Okay.
Everything's possible,
yeah,
isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, when you've got a business like that, you've definitely got to keep on top of the accounts, and you need to look at them definitely monthly, because something like that could go huge all of a sudden. You might need to get someone like Tim in, or you might need to start planning for that, or Linda might have needs that she's going to buy a house, or whenever you're speaking to your client and looking at the information, that's when you can give the best advice.
But I
We
think
always try
also
to do that.
just listening to you today, you know, it's about you're constantly, once upon a time you were reinvesting in more stock. Now you're reinvesting in more premises, more people,
Yeah.
and more services with
Yeah,
the
more
what are you
services.
calling it? Wash and
and
go.
go. Yeah.
Wash and go. I'm gonna have to bring Tabasco along.
Yeah.
See how he gets on. You open still Saturdays?
Yeah. Every day.
Yeah, and how many new clients are you getting? I know you're getting repeating business, but is there many new clients now all the time?
I think so. There's got to be, I'd say probably about 10 a week.
10 a week,
No.
no. Right.
Yeah.
So, taking on that new premises, there's no real concerns that
No,
you're not
no.
going to sell everything.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
yeah.
nice. That's
Yeah.
I think it will make it just a more enjoyable experience as well for the
Yeah.
customers, because
Yeah,
it will
it
just
will.
give you a bit more space. You can see more.
We
can't
need
you?
more space because like people are sort of
You're kind of edging between
Yeah.
freezers at the
Yeah.
moment, aren't you? A little bit.
just like Linda being successful, you know, keeping us informed is one thing, but we've had a few clients around that area that their business started failing. Now, if they reached out as well, we could always advise on that. You know, you think about that.
Yeah, I mean, where we are at the moment, you know, with the recession coming, you know, Maureen Lipman once said people will always need plates, you know, people will always need dog food, so it's almost, we'd like to think, recession proof. But have you noticed pressure on your prices of your goods, or are they your suppliers are staying stable?
At the minute they're stable.
Yeah, we probably would actually. Yeah, we'd structure that depending on how. We'd probably think about Linda's exit. You know, whether she wanted some capital out of the business, she wanted a little bit more involvement, she wanted to stay with a few shares. Again, when you talk about tell us everything, that's when you say, right, what is it you want, both from Pete's point of view and from Linda's. Then
What
you
I
can
want
advise.
is just give it to my sons.
Would
I don't
that
really
be
want
it?
anything. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Hand it down.
Yeah.
Is both your sons working in it now?
Sometimes they all come,
Right.
but not all the time. No.
Must be nice though, having the gang there.
3 sons together, different opinions. No,
So who has the least
to do with
involvement? Yeah,
it. My eldest son.
and is that because
Yeah.
he's got other things
Yeah.
he's up to?
Yeah.
But he still he helps out the
He
weekends.
does. Yeah, he does. He'd come in and help him carry the stock and put things away and stuff like that. Yeah.
And the third son.
Yeah, he's more involved. He'll help Peter sometimes with the deliveries, or sometimes in the shop. He'll help.
Yeah, fine.
Because Linda started off in August 2020, didn't you? And so our first set of accounts was done to August 21, which were well received. And now you've got August 22's just come and gone, and those are showing a great improvement, more growth, more profit. So with a lot of the finance companies, they want to see 2 years sets of accounts. So now Linda's going to be in a great position where, whilst interest rates are a little bit toppy at the moment, they'll still be lending because the business has such strong fundamentals. And what we mean by fundamentals is it is cash generative.
Yeah.
You know, if you sell twice as much stuff, you'll get more than twice drop it into your profit line, which means more money to reinvest. So, you know, it's literally your fixed costs are quite small, aren't they?
Yeah.
You got the rent, and you got the payment on the van and the petrol, which is probably a big cost.
Yeah.
But apart from that, the more you sell,
Yeah.
the more you keep, the more you grow. So it's just win-win-win.
Yeah, I know. I get exactly what you mean. I probably wouldn't advise on that.
No, I don't think so at the moment. I think where Linda's really been quite shrewd here is that she knows that people love their pets first and foremost, you know, and she knows that if she can get them through the door, they will spend more.
Yeah.
And if you think of your normal Pets R Us, is it called Pets R Us?
Pets at Home.
Pets at Home.
Pets at Home. You go in there, you know, rabbit straight ahead, leads to the right, grooming back left, you know, fish, lizards, beds, you know, it's an experience. People will spend half an hour in the store, and I think you're creating your own mini one of those. And so give them someone a reason to stay,
Yeah.
wash and brush up, and they'll buy another one of them. They'll buy 4 of them. Oh, you've got that.
Yeah.
And I think it's a really powerful model, and I don't think we would advocate anything other than just, if you can expand sideways, that'll give you the 2 mezzanines, you'll be washing and going, you'll be selling.
Yeah.
I think that the delivery side will be challenging, because if you were to triple your sales, that would be difficult, wouldn't it? Because there's only so many hours in the day for
That's
peak,
right.
so you'd
Yeah.
need more vans on the road, and you'd need more drivers, and they're hard to get at the moment.
Yeah.
How do
Maybe
you-
DPD, maybe look into their costs, see what it costs though first.
So that's a great example that's something you've seen, right? During the lockdown, everyone would be familiar with DPD and Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
And now you're thinking, well, rather than bust our mileage, why don't we see what the unit cost of a delivery is? It's a great idea.
Have you looked at it yet?
Not yet.
No. I
Oh, I'm
wonder.
going to.
We'll get Sarah
My
to look
youngest
into
son said
that.
maybe Amazon as well, to start selling the toys and the leads and the stuff,
Well-
'cause that can be posted out. But I don't know. I haven't looked into.
Well,
none of
the
that.
way Amazon works is they have a number of depots around the UK, and
Right.
if you put fixed quantities into each of their distribution
Yeah.
points, and then they will provide the from order to delivery service
Right.
for a price. You
Yeah,
know, I
cool.
think it varies between 20 and 40%
Right.
of what
Can
you
be
sell
expensive.
will go to them. However, if you're still making a profit, it will just add to your cash.
Yeah.
And you know they do have a relatively fine-tuned model now, don't they?
Yeah.
But I think the DPD's worth looking into. I've
Yeah, I think we
noticed
will.
a lot of people using couriers.
How do you currently manage your stock? Is it just a weekly order that you get in each time, or do you know when to get more to less, or is it the same amount?
We're getting more Southcliff. We get more.
Right.
More of that. We just look.
Just look. Yeah.
Oh, we need more chicken.
Right,
We
right.
know we know that's going down, and we know what sells quicker.
And what's the lead time? How long are you waiting for deliveries to come?
Oh, we just tell them the day before.
Oh,
We
really?
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
It's a
Yeah.
good, very
They've got what we usually have. And when you say we won't have none of that, we'll have more
Yeah.
of this.
And it comes branded with your
Yeah.
logo?
No.
No.
It's there. Like we can have ours on it.
Right.
but What's the
Doesn't
point?
Makes no difference.
Yeah,
yeah.
if you've got the idea, go with it. Otherwise, you'll always regret it. Always think, oh, maybe that would have worked. I hear a lot of people go, oh, I don't like my job. I wish I could do something else. As long as it's not crazy, do it. Just do it.
What's the worst that can happen, eh?
Yeah, it don't work. That's the worst.
Nothing
the best
ventured.
that can happen
Very
is
true.
it works. That's it.
And then
I would just encourage, I mean, I've always said this, but try and encourage to reach out earlier. I know there's that trust factor when you get in an accountant, and it kind of needs to be referred to, and you need to meet them and stuff. But as soon as we met you, we clicked, and we knew we could help. And to relieve that that worry, you know, when you see a client and they genuinely have concern on their face, and go, I know I can solve that one problem. And that's what we've always tried to do.
Exciting times ahead with the new store. Well, I think the thing is that what you said at the end there, if you don't have a go,
You'll never know, will
Yeah.
you?
You'll
Like
never
this
know.
making of the food, if I don't do it, I'm not going to know.
you're gonna carry on until you've done it,
Yeah,
win or lose.
yeah,
But they won't be able to take away the business you've
No.
created, and you'll
Yeah.
be forever proud of that, won't you?
yeah.
Especially when you can pass it down. It's a family business
It
which
is.
is growing
Do
every
you know
month.
what? It's for them. Because they left school with soddle. It was going nowhere. Yeah,
And look at you now.
yeah. I'm talking about my sons.
No, I know. I know, because it just means that everybody gets a second or a third bite.
Yeah.
But sometimes it takes an entrepreneur mum to kick him in.
Yeah.
And it was both of your ideas, really, wasn't it? But and that
Yeah.
lady at the council, Jill.
Yeah, Jill. I wish I remember her
would
saying it.
you consider yourself as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I suppose so.
You have to.
I never thought about it. I've got to be honest, never thought. Listen, we needed money, needed to do something, and this has worked so far. Hopefully it'll carry on. Nothing stays the same, does it?
It's great. That's very good.
Richard Branson started in a phone box,
Yeah.
and Linda started in a garage. So
They got chucked out of the garage.
what's stopping you? Onwards and upwards.
Yeah.
Good on you. So thank you for tuning in. Hopefully Linda's story will inspire you to have a go, because as she so succinctly put it, if you don't have a go, you'll never know. Thanks for watching Cubed. Thank you to
Thank
Linda. Thank you to Jim for bringing her here. Any final thoughts, Mark?
No, all good.
And thank you for filming.
Thank you.